Hello and welcome to the Unfortunate Few who stumble across this. Saber and I are going to be watching another silly, well, I shouldn't say silly, presumably silly video.
Uh, this is one of those videos. I watched the first 2 minutes of it, and I'm not entirely sure if it's a I'm just making jokes, bro video or an actual argument video. Either way, I've never heard of this guy. Uh, so yeah, I guess we'll find out together.
Yay, chat. We'll find out. All 6 people.
The end. Our leader realized it would not be possible.
Elsewhere among the stars, there were the stirrings of something sinister.
They contracted the jump dealers.
It's real quick. That fucking Halo, man.
Yeah, no, Halo 5 is ass, and it had really cool trailers, which
What?
sort of makes it more unfortunate.
Probably some of the coolest marketing, honestly. The fucking the John under the broken statue with Locke coming up to him, like that was just so fucking cool.
Or what you could see the other one that was the reverse, where Locke's under the statue and John's walking up to him. Just like, oh,
You're like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. And then you play it, and it's Halo 5, and you go, oh no.
and the marketing team thought they were telling a drama, and the game design team was like, "What if we mix Call of Duty and the Avengers?"
Not the call I would have made, but I'm not the writer for a multi-billion-dollar studio, so the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
I guess.
Just in case anybody didn't notice, up in the corner of the screen is the title of the video. The problem with lore in quotation marks in games, which I don't have a good feeling about this. I like a lot of RPGs. I like quite a few different games that have extensive lore in their own ways, like the Elder Scrolls games do. Although with Bethesda currently, next one will probably suck. But yeah, I like the Souls games. They have more of a open to interpretation kind of lore, which isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I like it. Uh, yeah, and I don't really see a problem with games having lore. This seems kind of like what's his face who made the original Doom games, who's like games don't need stories,
Yeah,
which
this.
is which is true in its own way when you're talking about something like Solitaire or Backgammon.
Yeah, it's obviously just going by off the title. It's certainly attention grabbing. That's probably about as kind of a thing I can say. But
Uh,
the idea that your game shouldn't have lore is quite silly. But maybe that's
yeah,
not what this video will be about. Maybe he's gonna make some great virtuous
yeah, because
points.
like somebody was like Rocket League doesn't need in-depth lore. It's like, well, I don't play Rocket League. First off, I know people do, so maybe that's true. I don't know. Uh, Pong doesn't really need lore. Tetris doesn't really need lore. They could have it; it wouldn't hurt anything, I don't think. But let's see what this guy's 2 cents is on it, because I'm pretty sure this is an intro. That's mostly just jokes or point build up, maybe.
We'll have to see.
Straight away and got it at
The people bind the void in an interdimensional rift between.
Presents an offer he can't refuse, taking him to Geno. As the 0 point breaks down.
So bereft of light.
Nah, I still don't even really know what the lore to Elden Ring is, to be honest.
Dark Souls lore, Hello Neighbor lore, Leon Edwards lore, Dude Perfect lore, Ben Chover lore. In my opinion, God of War's pretty good, but Elden Ring is better lore. Wait, hold up. Lore.
Uh, compare quite a
So-
few things right there that don't necessarily compare.
There's a lot of things wrong with that. Fucking lore is an actual thing versus lore is the meme term. Like YouTubers building up their lore in quotation marks by making jokes in camera.
Yeah.
By saying like, he's 10 feet tall or some nonsense.
Or EFAP lore, where like the universe is created by the cosmic chicken.
Yeah.
Uh,
These things are meme. That's like meme lore. That doesn't really fucking. I
Connect.
mean, it is a type of lore, sure, but it is very important to differentiate that as like meme lore. If you're talking about the problem with lore in video games, because not all games have meme lore, some do.
Yeah. But comparing Hello Neighbor to what was that Souls game was just kind of like, okay. Two very
I don't
different.
know anything. I've never played Hello Neighbor. I know of it, but that's about as far as it goes. So I couldn't say.
The lore, quote unquote, for Hello Neighbor, it's there, but mostly it was a game to grab the attention of game theory. So it might be a bit too dismissive of it, but I played Hello Neighbor once fucking when it came out, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I never played it. I think it has like a cell shaded art style.
It's a fine art style for basically being mascot horror. That's all it is. Anyway, we should probably continue this El Cringe Fest. Presumably, El Cringe Fest
is not this story. A story can not only drive a game forward, but can also be the core of a game's experience. Lore is different. Lore is more about the background information for a world or universe. That by itself is pretty cool. You know, knowing the backstory of locations and games can make it that much sweeter to explore them. And I love how to do this. I have to grab the game and put it back down because I actually have to go online to the game's wiki.
See, there's a huge issue with that because where do you think the information on the wiki comes from?
Comes from generally the game. Sometimes it comes from like a guidebook, but
yeah,
probably 90% of all games lore comes from the game or
within the game.
within the game.
Like right here, he's showing a
bolt gun.
Fucking bolt gun. Yeah, sure. Bolt gun's lore, a lot of it would be more in the 40K fandom stuff, which is
books,
mainly books.
Yeah.
Books and rule books. Yeah, so there's not a lot of mixture as far as like 40K is concerned. You're not going to get a lot of new lore from games, but they will expand on stuff. I think the Blood Ravens are entirely a video game based lore edition.
They are. It's just also because I can think of games where barely, if any, lore comes from the guidebooks, and that'd be like Xenoblade, Xenoblade X, Final Fantasy.
I mean, the kind of lore he's talking about is what everyone criticized Destiny for doing.
Yeah, I forgot about Destiny. Yeah, basically, he's making a Destiny joke, but he's not showing Destiny, so...
Well, yeah, he showed Skyrim. Skyrim has literal piles of books you can read in the game for the lore and the backstory of stuff based on the different interpretation of the factions. So it seems pretty misleading so far.
Well, what the fuck even is that? RSG2 with the green pixel monster. Goofy so far. I guess we should probably continue. I'm not confident so far, Saber. I'll be honest with you.
No, Ryan, no, I am not.
A game informs you of the lore is where the problems arise. Games have a wide selection of techniques in communicating information to you, and actually, this is sounding like a familiar art, but I can't remember what I'm thinking about. Oh yeah, playing Elden Ring DLC, it had cool moments, but holy shit.
Lore comes through storytelling in a lot of games, like Skyrim. The Greybeards explain some shit about dragons to you, for example. Sure, you could say that exposition can be a little clunky sometimes, but exposition in itself isn't a bad thing.
No.
Exposition can actually be a very good thing to inform people what's going on. Opening crawls in movies like Star Wars or like the opening paragraph of the Judge Dredd movie with Sylvester Stallone.
Or the opening to Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Or the opening to Lord of the Rings trilogy. They're there to kind of help set a tone and fill you in on the bare minimum you need to know lore-wise.
Yeah, I'm not... It's
like storytelling and lore aren't two different things, which is what it seems like he's trying to associate.
Yeah, I think that's what he's also trying to do, but that's just weird because story. Tibers, please. She keeps like nudging into the mic. Your story can't really exist without the lore to kind of, put it in to give you the where, the why, and the how things happen in universe. So, I mean, they're not two separate things.
No, they kind of fit together pretty nicely in most of the most good stories, at least.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's some garbage where like, oh, it has a good story but bad lore, or good lore and a bad story. I'm sure that's happened. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
Genshin Impact has some pretty shit lore at times and some pretty good lore at times. Same thing with its storytelling. Sometimes the events leading to what's going on are cooler than what's actually going on, like in the Fontaine arc. And then you get events that are, what's happening is cool, but the backstory isn't very good, like the Natlan arc.
yeah. I have a feeling that he's gonna keep going down this path, and I'm oof.
Shit, the boss fights were straight up tedious at points, and I quickly realized that there was nothing about this game pushing me forward beyond the base motivation of beating it. Boss after boss being seemingly a random creation with weird-ass gameplay. And yet...
What? That's not true at all.
Yeah, I didn't play Elden Ring. You're my resident Elden Ring expert.
Yeah, no, there's boss fights in Elden Ring, yeah, but that's like a big draw of the game. So of course they have crazy boss fights, especially when you're showing the DLC.
Yeah.
Elden Ring's also done in a way to where you can ignore the lore if you want to completely and just go from area to area. You don't really have to take any environments or anything. You can, I do. But like you could literally walk through like, the new DLC area and be like, why is there a bunch of gravestones that are like holographic on the ground here? That's weird. And then you ignore it and go on. Or you don't even notice the gravestones are there. And you just walk to the first village you find.
Or you notice the gravestones and start forming questions and answers in your head to figure it out. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the biggest aficionado of the Souls games. Aren't they pretty much universally praised for their environmental-based storytelling?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who like it, but there's also a lot of people who don't, like this guy probably. Oh yeah, well, we'll see.
Yes, I know I'm only using the sword, but bro, come on. What the fuck is the point of this RPG asking? Like, this is gameplay? This is gameplay to you? Yeah, sure, bro.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah? You have summons fighting a boss who I think hit you with a bunch of rocks, and you're clearly wearing, like, heavy armor, so it didn't just kill you. Like, you've done enough investing into the gameplay to know this at this point. Unless this isn't your footage, which it might not be.
Very real possibility with the with many people on the YubTub.
Because there's lots of people who take video game footage of like some unpopular streamer or something, and then kind of cut it to make it seem like they did it. So he might be doing that. I won't say for sure, but
it would be unsurprising.
If you got to this point in the game, you should have a decent understanding of the mechanics. I mean, yellow paint's not everywhere in Elden Ring, so there is that.
Maybe he's one of those individuals that needs the yellow paint. That's just such a weird thing. This looks like a boss fight. It's like, yes, it looks like a boss fight in the Souls games. They're known for their boss fights, man.
Yeah. Also, like, lots of bosses have the health bar at the bottom of the screen. Lots of bosses have mechanics that they do that you got to learn. Lady Unalesca in Final Fantasy X, you have to keep one of your people zombied the whole time. Spoilers, by the way. So that when she casts Megadeth, they don't die. But when she casts Heal, they do die.
But yeah, no, that's strange.
Official Souls games have always been praised for their rich settings and thick atmospheres. The storytelling is always described as a unique mystery where the dialogue and descriptions give you some info, but you as the player have to fill in the gaps yourself. The creator, Miyazaki, apparently drew inspiration from his experiences reading books in English, where his imagination would have to fill in for the words and phrases he didn't understand. Very, very cool, obviously. Yeah.
feel like that's probably a misrepresentation of his quote, but
It probably is. If he can't,
because like reading in general, you have to fill in a lot of stuff in your head.
yeah, especially because you're supposed to, it's theater of the mind in its
Yeah.
truest form. So
And just because you didn't understand some shit in English doesn't necessarily. I mean, it probably helped it a little bit of creating some of what he imagined, but I don't know.
that's just general reading in general. You kind of have to do that. So
Yeah, that's just kind of a reading in general thing. Not knowing some of the language, I'm sure.
mystified
Hurts.
it a bit.
Yeah,
Maybe made it better in that kind of way, but
and maybe it made it better because he associated what the words looked like with something else. So I guess maybe I could understand. I could understand that helping at least. Like
yeah,
if you picked up an Arabic book and you were trying to learn Arabic, and some of the stuff might seem a little bit neater because you don't really understand it.
yeah. I'm waiting because I could hear it in his tone as he was finishing that sentence how this is apparently going to be really really stupid or something.
Well, we'll see.
So tell me why every fucking game under their name starts with a massive exposition dump.
It doesn't.
It sets the tone. It gives you,
First
It gives
off,
you the
it's
bare minimums, man.
all the storylines are skippable. It's like, okay, Dark Souls 2, there's probably the longest one. Most of them aren't really that long. They're just like the trailer footage.
well, like
Get people hyped for the game.
They'll go with
And
Demon.
to give a basic premise.
We'll go with Demon Souls. Like, what does that really tell you in the opening thing? There's a kingdom. It's covered in demon fog, and the king is missing, or is in
Also,
charge of the fog.
No, the king doesn't care.
Or yeah, the king doesn't care, and you're just
King
some
doesn't
guy.
care. There's a demon fog and a dragon's dropping a bunch of corpses.
And yeah, and you're just some guy. Okay, moving
And
on.
you're a guy who wandered into the fog.
Dark Souls. It tells you how the world was created, and then that's it.
Yeah, it basically talks about how there was a war with dragons, the gods won, and that's really all it tells you.
Yeah, and congratulations, now you're a zombie in a castle.
Well, yeah, because it's like the gods won the war against the dragons, but their time is over.
Yeah, so not really a huge exposition dump.
And Dark Souls 2 is, basic. I don't remember it exactly, but you're like on a boat and you fall off the boat.
Yeah,
And then there's some exposition around it, but not really a lot. It also has nothing to do with the fucking game, really.
it's if I remember correctly, dear audience, bear with me. It's been a long time since I've seen the opener of Dark Souls 2. You're like on a boat, you're going forward, and it's like talking about how you're going from one country. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're trying to enter this other kingdom for.
You're trying to get to Dern Lake, I think.
Yeah, you're trying to get to this country for reasons. Okay,
Yeah.
that's about it.
And then, yeah.
And Dark Souls 3 is
It just says, like,
the world is ending. Moving
the
on.
world's ending and the Elden Lords abandoned the Elden Lords, the Lords of Cinder abandoned their throne.
Yeah, so not really a huge exposition dump. It's giving you the bare premise of the game, because if you don't know anything further than that, you can play it almost like Doom, in all honesty, if you don't pay attention, where it's just, I have the very base inkling of, I know I have to kill these things moving forward.
Yeah, that's basically all it does. Very
It,
bare bones on what, like, the exposition dump that he claims it is.
yeah, it's to give you the absolute bare minimum to move forward with some kind of purpose. Not an exposition dump. So that's
He could play a game that has exposition dumps like fucking Dragon Age Veilguard, where they just sit there and talk about nothing for minutes at a time.
No one should have to suffer that fate, except for people who are wrong, which is most of them.
Fallen leaves.
Oh my god.
From Software does this because they want you to have, I guess, a base understanding of the story to then build on it later. But bland narration exposition doesn't just suck because it's lazy as fuck.
Bland.
It doesn't suck.
Bland.
Yeah.
Again, the Souls games being
it's-
praised for their their fucking story.
Oh yeah, this is clearly a guy who doesn't like the storytelling because he probably it doesn't click with him. He doesn't understand why people like it.
He probably can't follow it, in all honesty.
Well, yeah, no, it requires a bit of
thought.
Yeah, and he's probably the kind of guy when the music swells in a movie, he goes, "That is right, bro. The Brachiosaurus didn't deserve this." When the mountains blown up in Jurassic World.
Oof, that is a diss. Fucking, was that Dominion? No, or Extinction. Who fucking cares? That is quite the glove thrown there, Saber.
I just calls it like I sees it.
I can't exactly disagree with you with what I've heard of this 2.5 minutes so far.
Because it's so boring, nothing about it sticks. The only thing I can tell you...
Again. Oh, wait, we'll let him finish what he can tell us. I'm sure it's going to be very insightful.
About the Elden Ring cutscene is maybe describing some of the artwork, but that's it. Obviously...
Oh.
This definitely seems to be his issue with the game, is he doesn't like to think.
Okay, so I'll try to. I haven't played Elden Ring since it came out. Let me try and, because I didn't beat it. I didn't get very far. If I remember correctly, the story is there was gods. There's a big golden tree thing. There's a big war between the gods. The main golden tree goddess lady is like being evil or something, and sets all of her kids to kill each other. There's a thing called the rot that's spreading, and you're just a random special kind of zombie.
Sorta.
A few years removed, but if he was just playing the DLC,
yeah,
not a good look.
You need something to draw the player in. Some only need cool art design, and then they can just barely compromise a small portion of their daily 9 hours of Reddit to study the wiki. But for people like me, you need some quality storytelling. I remember when Warhammer Darktide came out, people were talking about how complicated and rich the Warhammer lore was. Playing that game, it's like, I literally don't give a shit.
Oh, okay. That doesn't mean they're wrong, though.
No, it does have rich lore. That's why there's a lot of stuff you can tell from the environments of how shitty that setting is.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can construe by. Look how fucking massive the skybox is, right? As a city above you. Oh wow, I'm in a mega city. These are colossal structures. Oh man, look you got people cramped underneath stairs as basically houses. Right? There's little lore shit all over the place. So this is just a retard then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is a retard because Darktide is a great game. Even if you're just talking about gameplay, it's a great game. If you need the lore to enjoy a game, well, first off, like I said, Warhammer's more of a tabletop game, and most of its lore comes from books. So, it's not unreasonable for them to assume you have at least some knowledge of Warhammer as a setting.
Even going in it, you don't really need to know much about the wider setting. Everything that needs in the game is in there.
Yeah, no, but if you're a lore nut, like
I am,
yeah, that's not too unreasonable to be like, well, people will pick it up if they're interested, or they'll just kill zombies and not really give a fuck because it's
fun.
Effectively, another Left 4 Dead style game, just better than most of them. Probably all of them. It's probably the best one out.
I would say it's probably the best one out of all of them because we're gonna compare this to Back 4 Blood.
No, Vermintide.
Vermintide would be the much closer one, which was also better than Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood's ass though.
Yeah, it is ass. It is absolute ass.
Why would you pick on that game if you want to talk about bad lore? And that one, it's what happened?
There's
maggots turned everyone into zombies.
I was about to say it's a meteor alien maggot thing or something.
Yeah, there's aliens that landed and they produced maggots that turn people into zombies. That one doesn't really have the amount of in-depth lore you would probably want. Like, there's some character lore for their backstories, but the setting itself doesn't really have any. At least not a lot. I mean, there's some, obviously.
Tell us in the comments if there's any extravagant Back 4 Blood lore we need to know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I'll pin it if there is.
Here you have some repetitive, bland interiors, fucking alien, fleshy.
He missed every shot there.
Well, yeah. Once again, if this is him playing, which is a big if, he's probably not a video game enjoyer.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Also,
It'd be like if I start talking about why NASCAR sucks. I've never watched a NASCAR race in my life. My opinion on it wouldn't fucking matter.
yeah, that's fair. Also, the fact that he's like, oh, it's all bland, boring, repeating environments. It's like, no.
There's like furnace rooms. There's the top of the city's frozen. There's the outside desert areas. There's lots of diverse environments in this game. They share a theme and an aesthetic of being grimdark, which is
they share an aesthetic of industrial cathedral.
Yeah.
But like,
and grimdark is pretty much all around bad for the lore and the environment and stuff.
It gives it a look. I've not heard that criticism about Darktide before, so this is a new one.
Also a bad one.
It is also a bad one, RSG2. You should feel ashamed of yourself for being so fucking stupid.
Especially because there's lots of games out there that have bad lore.
There's games with more repeatable that repeat their fucking environments more than Darktide.
Like, he could have talked about the other Left 4 Dead clone that came out, the Redfall, I think is what it was called, where you fight vampires.
Oh shit, yeah.
He could have talked about that one. No one's gonna argue with him that game has good lore. So nobody gives a fuck.
And this is... it's hard to tell the difference between genuine stupidity and rage bait. This
could very well be rage bait. He does have the peppy meme face thing. Kinda.
It might supposed to be like a weird stylized Pepe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewind this just a smidgen.
Yeah.
Warhammer lore was. Playing that game, it's like, I literally don't give a shit. Here you have some repetitive, bland interiors, fucking alien, fleshy enemies, I guess. I just remember thinking, damn, lore, huh? I don't like this, but I do like Halo lore.
Okay.
So, you didn't play the game, you didn't...
I mean, it's really easy to not pay attention to lore if you go into it not wanting to like it.
Yeah. Again, genuine stupidity. It seems more likely it's genuine stupidity than just rage bait.
I mean, he didn't even realize, like, these guys were infested with, like, chaos corruption. And there were zombies. He called them fleshy aliens.
And he called them fleshy aliens instead of zombies, which... that's also new.
I mean, they are technically, I believe, poxwalkers, but...
They're poxwalkers, but they're a fucking zombie.
Yeah,
no one's gonna get mad at you for calling a poxwalker a zombie, and if they do, there's something off with them.
Well, let's see why Halo's lore is good, which it is. So I wonder what his reasoning will be for this that isn't in other games.
Let's find out.
And God of War lore. See, the first time I played through God of War 2018, I really loved the story, but I was also intrigued by the future of the narrative and universe.
What?
He was intrigued in the narrative of the universe.
Well, I mean, it's a little weird comparing co-op shooters to a
action RPG.
Yeah, to an action RPG. God of War does have good lore.
It does, but it is just that's comparing apples to a Triceratops.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
So, you know.
Also, there's absolutely some of the lore telling stuff they do in this game, because like this game also has some environmental storytelling and shit. Like when you're going around unchaining the turtle in the dwarf place.
Well, there's also
and, you have the head telling you about how he fucked this turtle up.
I mean, you also have Kratos, when he's taking his son around, doing an exposition dump by telling him about his past.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, he doesn't go too in depth about it.
No,
but
he
does
doesn't.
talk
But
about it.
if you want to be disingenuous, you could call it an exposition dump.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, yeah, like it is weird because like most of his criticisms you could apply to this.
Yeah. So let's see how Numbnuts keeps going.
This idea in which you put a
Also,
foreign
this
god-
game holds your fucking hand to explain things. It's one of my biggest issues with it. It over-explains stuff constantly.
You didn't like having like, oh cool, a puzzle, let me figure out, and then literally 7 seconds passes before it's
That's
like,
more of the
here's a hint.
sequel, but yeah.
So,
It does it in this one too a little bit, but it's nowhere near as bad as the sequel.
it's a bit goofy. It's not a big mark against the game before anyone takes it as like, oh, you just hate it because of that nitpick. It's like, no, but it is funny and also irritating.
Yeah.
killer like Kratos in this new version of Norse mythology and see what the hierarchy is like and what each individual god is like. Everyone today knows Norse mythology because of Marvel, and I'm sure the developers knew that, but the characters were actually well realized and interesting. And because the writing was good, I could actually look forward to what type of person Odin would be.
So, none of the Dark Souls games have characters, or any of those other games had characters?
A lot of people like Artorias' lore.
Yeah.
Like, you could look forward to what Artorias would be like in his fight, because you know he's one of like the four great knights.
It comes to, if I had to guess, he played God of War as a kid, so he was willing to accept this stuff in God of War. But
I feel it's more that God of War is super handholdy as far as telling its story, which is fine in its own way.
yeah, it's not an issue. It's not really an issue. It's more of just like
Well, it's in the way it's an issue would be like how it's like a freedom versus security thing. The more safely the story is told, the less people can miss, which is good. And if people have, the option to find more lore spread throughout, technically that's in there too. It's just, it's hard to miss. It's just hard to miss lore in God of War. That's my point.
yeah. Again, it's not an issue with the game. It's just it's just something to point out. It's not really good. It's not bad. It's just a fact of the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's other games that do it too.
Oh yeah.
Or
You can keep going.
even though Ragnarok didn't do a great job in building up on that build-up and suspense, it's still worth something that I actually cared for it. Just look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where it's
What?
like, who cares about...
They did Odin really well.
Yeah. Also,
Odin was actually he was more like a mob boss. Sure, you can make that argument, and he wasn't like this buff fightery guy, which annoyed some people. But at the same time, he was more of like a wizard.
kind of like how he is in mythology,
Yeah,
where he sits on
I mean,
the throne. He's like a king man. He's wise.
yeah. I think he's supposed to be like a wise old man. He might be buff. I don't know.
I'm sure he was.
Norse mythology.
He's probably also supposed to be buff in Norse mythology because I think all their gods are buff-ish. But and granted, I'm not as familiar with Norse mythology as I'm other ones. I'm pretty sure isn't like the whole reason he's missing an eye is because he gave it up for knowledge.
Yeah, he like sacrificed it to a raven for knowledge,
Yeah, so
which is why he's also the Lord of Ravens.
yeah, that's why he's a smart. He's not like Zeus. And that's also good for how do you differentiate your villains from
Yeah,
the
'cause
first
if they
set
made
of
him-
games to the second set of games.
If they made him more pop culture-y Odin, he probably would have been a lot more like Zeus.
Yeah, and Zeus is
Just he would have had raven powers instead of lightning powers.
Zeus is a dick. you already killed Zeus. You don't need to kill
Yeah,
Zeus.
I mean they were both
too.
technically dicks, but like
Yeah.
one's a dick in a much different way.
You don't need to kill Zeus, but wearing a different hat is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You've already killed Zeus. Variety in villains is a good thing.
Yeah, like I said, I thought they did go with Odin. I thought it was surprising they killed him in the second game
Yeah, that is.
in their sequel trilogy.
I'm curious on where they're going, but that's a discussion for another time. How is he gonna compare Assassin's Creed to God of War, though?
About this? Nobody gives a shit. You need that verisimilitude, an aspect that feels real to convince you that the rest could be too. Even though the intro cutscenes in Dark Souls end and you can look at the world, it still takes you.
Did he say "and" twice? Did
I mean, we say stuff twice all the time.
I know, but he edited this video, presumably.
I mean, you edit the videos, you don't take them out.
True.
The rest could be too. Even though the intro cutscenes in Dark Souls end and you can look at the
Oh, and I think is what he said.
Yeah. The cutscenes end and you can look at the time.
Yeah, it's at first I thought I just said and for no reason, so I was a little. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. I was just curious.
world, it still takes you out when the characters start talking like Oblivion NPCs. Each Elden Ring boss I busted my ass to be is pretty much just a cardboard cutout caricature.
Welcome, honored the guest, to the birthplace of our dynasty.
Okay. That's just I mean, that's just his opinion, I guess, but like it's not really true. There are boss fights that are super fun in the Souls games. There are boss fights that are super irritating in the Souls games.
I'm just he's saying a lot of nothing except for
I also like how he completely skipped over what the good lore in Halo was.
Yeah, it makes you think that maybe he doesn't actually know.
Probably just doesn't have a fucking point. He probably just likes Halo more as a game.
Yeah.
That's probably what this boils down to. The games he doesn't like are the games he loses at. Like, Darktide can be pretty merciless if you don't level your character up a little bit before you hop into, like, difficulty 5.
Yeah. Or if you just suck at dodging.
A lot of people suck at dodging in Darktide.
A lot of people suck at dodging. It's awful. I don't know how you people manage it.
Oh my god, guys, I just killed Mesmer, son of Chesmer, who ruled Chlamydia, and that, dude, now the power balance is shaken, dude. Shit's different now. Like, yeah, cool, bro. I'll just continue and try and jam my character through a bunch of relentless fucks.
Yeah, also disingenuous. Like I said, this guy just got his ass beat in a Souls game, and he's mad about it.
You know, as the saying goes, get good.
Yeah.
Unironically, I would say Five Nights at Freddy's does a good job at capturing the audience's curiosity. The sister location...
Also, hold on, I just want to point out, like, the games he said are good versus the games he said are bad are noticeably games that are easy. It's not... Five Nights at Freddy's isn't hard. You fucking look in 3 directions and press a button.
Yeah, unless you're doing, like, the hyper challenge mode shit, but most people don't, so... Also, there's a shitload of lore in Five Nights at Freddy's. What the fuck is he even going on about? Even, like...
And a lot of it's, like, speculative lore.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how...
Well, this is actually probably the worst game he could have chose for his argument.
Yeah.
It's like, Five Nights at Freddy's does have lore, but it's not
There's
exactly in the game super hard.
No, there's a shitload to Five Nights at Freddy's lore. It's just... like you said, it's not really in the game.
It's like environmental and putting pieces together you get from like stuff that's like done within the game.
Yeah, because it's like
it's like there's like the whole Purple Man plot who
he got killed and
turned into Springtrap and other shit.
There's a lot there. It's been a long time since I thought about Five Nights at Freddy's though, so strange.
Yeah.
A strange comparison. Not a good one.
But like I said, he's liked Halo and he's liked
Halo,
God of Norse.
Halo, God of Norse, and FNAF apparently. So
which are all notably easy games to play through.
They're also, with the exception of FNAF, not hard to follow. I mean, I guess if you put on a YouTube video that just explains the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's probably pretty simple.
Or you don't even realize it's happening, which might have also happened to this gentleman.
Yeah, and not outside the realm of possibility.
Cutscene and the infamous Connection Terminated cutscene both have actual high-quality voice acting. Five Nights at Freddy's will never show you the straight linear aspects of its storytelling, but it draws you in with greatly executed details and traces that feel real, at least within its
Like
own
Dark Souls? What do you
Like
mean?
the Souls games, yeah.
All right.
And before anyone's like, Ryan, are you a Dark Souls dick? No. I actually have a lot of issues with the Souls games, personally, but I'm able to put them aside to be objective in this, talking about this shit. Most of my issues are subjective. Mostly because I'm bad at them.
It's just weird to. Like I said, I think it basically boils down to difficulties. All that really matters for this guy.
Yeah, It's
Just like looking at the games he's talked about, as far as good and bad, it seems like difficulty is like the main thing.
Man, imagine if he had to play Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
universe, but only before they blew it, of course. The theories and speculations are the best part of straight lore, where you feel encouraged to create your own story, in a way.
There is lore to Minecraft.
Subjectively, I guess that could be your favorite part is theory crafting. I guess.
It doesn't seem like this guy likes theory crafting particularly after all he said so far. So
Yeah.
Also a weird point.
I'm not really sure what to make of this.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 1 has one of the corniest moments in gaming history with the final boss. The music just gives off so much secondhand embarrassment. But there are...
What?
You're gonna call Gwyn's theme embarrassing?
Gwyn's theme was really good. The thing that people meme on in this game is that Gwyn is like one of the easiest bosses to parry, and then you can just lock him in place with parries.
Yeah, I don't know what bringing the music up had to do with that, unless he just actually doesn't know why people meme on Gwyn.
No, probably not.
I'm just struggling with the idea of calling any of the Dark Souls music bad, especially like Gwyn's, because Gwyn's theme is incredible. Like most of the boss tracks.
You know what game has like a noticeably bad song? Alien's Fire Team in the second level, where you're in the stupid cave and it's playing like Feywild music for some reason. Like, why is that like that? That's a good example of bad music. Like, well, bad music for the location. Doesn't really fit Aliens at all, but it's there.
Not everyone can be as hype as having the disco party theme from AVP for the 360.
Yeah, that one's cool.
That game is 2/3 of a good game.
But I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the shitty one.
Yeah, you're talking
that's also a Left 4 Dead ripoff.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'll be honest, I almost always forget that game. I forget that game exists until you mention it every time.
fan theories that suggest that the reason this boss is so easy is because this Gwyn guy spent so long in his cave that he actually lost his skills and you're just putting him down, which is...
He did lose his skills. He lost his mind.
Yeah, isn't that like part of his armor? Like, that he's been keeping the kiln alive for so long that...
Basically, someone needs to sacrifice themselves to restart the Age of the Gods, and he's not brave enough to do it. And he's trying to use all of his power. He's basically burnt up all of his divinity and all of his, like, knowledge and, like, powers and shit to keep that flame alive. And that's why it's just embers now. Which is why you can choose to reignite the flame or start the Age of Darkness.
And this is all stuff you could probably easily get through, like, find in your first playthrough, right?
I understood it in my first playthrough.
Yeah, so... Jesus, Dark Souls came out like 12 years ago, apparently. According to this little thing up here. Strange.
I think it's older than that, actually.
But calling like, oh, yeah, no... that fans had to create theories on why he was easy. It's like, well, there is a reason given why he's easy, but it's more so that they probably designed him earlier than they designed other bosses. In all honesty,
I mean,
he's also a guy, And it's
I
like-
mean, if you don't do the parry strat, he's not super hard, but he's like still kind of a mid-range boss at that point. If you just don't do the parry thing.
well, pairing is for nerds, so you know, I'd be doomed.
Beautiful, but no, it's actually cute. Both Super Hot games have these ominous.
I have no idea what these are. I know they're
I'm gonna rewind.
I
him.
know they're VR games. That's about all I know about them.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewind him just a bit to make sure we don't miss anything. Are you at
Dark Souls
501?
came out in 2011.
14
Yes, I
years
am.
ago? Jesus, it feels like an eternity ago. Or it doesn't feel like it's that long ago, but apparently it was. Are you at 501?
Yeah.
All right.
In a way, Dark Souls 1 has one of the corniest moments in gaming history with the final boss. The music just gives off so much secondhand embarrassment. But there are fan theories that suggest that the reason this boss is so easy is because this Gwyn guy spent so long in his cave that he actually lost his skills and you're just putting him down.
So the boss fight's bad because the music is embarrassing and fan theories.
I mean, if you're a designer of stuff, you want the fans to have theories about your shit because that means they care about it.
Yeah, it's just
So, people having fan theories is actually a positive as far as like development goes. And sure, they'll create a little bit of headcanon lore and stuff, which there's their own issues with that, but there's nothing wrong with it at face value.
yeah, I'm just not his greatest option, I think, for an example.
No, most of his examples have been bad. If you're like really wanting to make this argument, Fable 2 would have been the better one. Kinda. Because, like, that one just kind of spits in your face, and if you don't kill the boss, Reaver does.
Yeah, that is probably
It's like an embarrassing ending to a game
yeah.
that also doesn't have good lore.
Yeah. Seeing as this person is presumably not a gamer, judging by everything we've seen so far.
He's also hasn't really mentioned a lot of games.
No. I would assume he's probably never played Fable 2, which, on some aspects, that's good for him.
It does suck.
Fable 2 does suck.
Not as much as Fable 3, but it does suck.
Strange how that series goes, but we have no video on that already.
Which is very beautiful, but no, it's actually cute. Both Super Hot games have these ominous and nostalgic atmospheres that I've personally done a lot of thinking about. Lots of wonder with this world. But this isn't lore. This is just me liking the atmosphere.
Did anyone claim it was lore?
Yeah, no. Liking the atmosphere and claiming its lore are two different things.
The atmosphere, tone, and lore, they connect, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah. They're not one interchangeable word.
These words have meanings, man. Come on, RSG2. Why would you do this? Why are you being a clown?
I was
Doom
about to say
Eternal
the same thing for
has
Doom.
complicated lore, apparently. The story is fucking terrible. There's cute moments, but definitely one of the least impactful stories you can experience. And the game doesn't even give a shit about a narrative. The enemies literally spawn in from thin air. You got pure video game items and objectives everywhere. And the arenas are so obviously just arenas. But Warhammer has...
Well, what's his point? Doom has lore. It has a story. Whether or not the Doom guy does not give a shit because Doom guy is there to do his thing. He doesn't care about the wider lore. Like,
yeah. The lore behind Doom Guy is he's literally there to kill demons. He doesn't really give a fuck about anything else.
yeah, so it makes sense.
So there is lore there.
It makes
You
sense.
could say it's bad, sure. I thought it was funny in its own way.
Yeah, but like from Doom Guy's perspective, like the way he acts, the fact that you know, as the player, it encourages you to not really give much of a shit in terms of running around and just killing demons and shit. Like, obviously, because he doesn't give a fuck. But if you were playing just a random Marine guy, he would probably give a lot more of a fuck about hell opening up because this isn't Tuesday for him. This is hell opening up.
Yeah.
So again, not a good example. Quite the bad one again. Let's see.
He's like conflating video game mechanics with lore, which is
A bad idea.
usually a bad idea. Some games can do it, but most can't.
Most can't.
Doom doesn't try to do it though. That's like the big difference. Doom very clearly has its story bits and its gameplay bits as their own entities. They're connected, yeah, but they're not like trying to be not a game.
Yeah, and again,
Which is a way to do storytelling and lore.
yeah, and it's just a bad It's a bad example. RSG2. Come on.
Thin air, you got pure video game items and objectives everywhere, and the arenas are so obviously just arenas. But Warhammer has very crazy lore, guys, and we finally get to experience it with Space Marine, and oh wow, this story. No amount of lore knowledge or background information is gonna fix these boring ass characters. You know?
They're pretty good, man.
There's. I think
Titus does a lot of shit.
you know what I think it is, because he's mentioned how good Halo is, right? And he keeps shitting on Warhammer. I think he fucking got pissy with a video, like a Warhammer versus Halo video.
It could have been, yeah.
Because most Halo, in my experience, most dealing with many Halo fans, most of them get really pissy when you point out that the Haloverse is kind of weak shit compared to a lot of other ones.
Like, they have a decent chance against, like, Colonial Marines.
Yeah. But comparing, the 100 worlds of the UNSC to the million worlds of the Imperium.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into the big thing about it, but that's just what I think has happened.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. He just... Because, like... As far as, like, the protagonists of the games he's talked about positively, like Kratos and John, and whoever the fuck you play in Five Nights at Freddy's, I know it's different in each one. Like, one of them, you're just a guy. Another one, you're Vanessa. And then there's also, like, a kid I think you play in one of them, but...
It's unimportant in the grand scheme of things, except for one of them.
Yeah, like... I'm trying to see if there's, like, an archetype or a reason, thinking of those games in general, why he likes the characters more in one way or another.
They're very, very...
Like, John and Kratos, like, if you think about some of the things they have in common within, like, the newer God of War games and Halo as a series, both are kind of quippy, but, like, serious quippy.
Yeah, maybe.
Where are you going? To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Oh, John. But yes, being like, oh, these Space Marine characters are terrible. It's like, are you gonna explain why?
No, he won't explain why, but that also doesn't affect the lore.
It also doesn't affect the lore.
There could be an ass Space Marine character, and it doesn't affect the lore really at all. Because 40K is a massive franchise.
Yeah. I guess we'll continue listening to him be confused.
This is actually an example of just how annoying lore can be, because with Helldivers, everybody just started talking about, oh my god, it's like this inexplicable masculine feeling of being loyal to your corporation and wanting to, like, just put the fries in the bag, bro.
People are making memes. They weren't talking about... I have no idea what the fuck he even got with that.
Yeah, no, I don't know what he meant. Rewind that.
Because with Helldivers, everybody just started talking about, oh my god, it's like this inexplicable masculine feeling of being loyal to your corporation and wanting to, like, just put the fries in the bag, bro.
Being loyal to your corporation? Helldivers is about being loyal to the government.
Yeah. RSG, do you understand how, like...
Corporations might not even be a thing in Helldivers, in all honesty.
No, I'm being genuine. RSG2, do you understand the differences between economics, politics, and, societies?
Right, he doesn't understand there's different types of way to do lore.
That's a fair point. May God have mercy on your soul. Because, oof.
Lore doesn't mean shit. You want to know a reason why Halo stories have been so lackluster? They hire creative leads and writers not based on their writing ability, but their knowledge of Halo books.
That is the opposite of what is true, because for the Halo 4, 5, and 6 people, they hired people specifically who didn't know shit about Halo.
So they could do their own thing.
Yeah. This is just a straight up lie.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else did this? The Marvel movies.
Look how those
a lot
turned
of them
out.
Were just like a lot of those were just like, hey, we don't want you to really know anything about the comics or talk to any of the other directors making movies. We want you to kind of be inspired to do your own thing. Same thing with Star Wars. How do you get the Star Wars universe to work? Well, you shit can all the lore that you don't have ownership over, and then you steal that same lore and give it to people who don't like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wow, shocking how that doesn't fucking lead into a great franchise.
So
Also, if you played through Halo 4, 5, and 6, he knows damn well those games ignore and shit all over the lore of the previous ones.
Yeah, I'm guessing he doesn't actually like Halo then. It's just the popular shooter game of the Xbox.
I doubt he's played it.
Yeah, oof. He probably couldn't even tell you what the best weapon in Halo 1 is.
Someday he might.
Someday. It won't be today, though. I'm just... That is such a bold-faced fucking lie, though, and it's kind of sad in how pathetic it is.
I mean, maybe if he had, like, actual... like documentation or something to show up there to like kind of prove his point, but he just grabbed a picture of the Halo books for sale.
Yeah.
Just a strange way to kind of straw man, but all right.
It's a bad way. Again.
Well, I mean, most of his video boils down to if people don't listen to me and just kind of nod along and agree with me on the second monitor, I think I'm right.
Yeah. If anyone listening to our video of whatever the fuck the title will be, and you agreed with RSG2's the problem with lore in games, explain why. I demand it.
Facts.
343 Industries is looking for a writer that is deeply knowledgeable about Halo lore to join the team that builds and maintains the fiction of the Halo universe. Do you know all our birth names by heart?
I have no idea who this guy is. They've said that before, but if the writers were specifically hired beforehand, so they might have just put this out there. I have no context for what the fuck this doofus is. He has a UNSC shirt, so I'm guessing he's a Halo channel or something.
He's also got like a Halo Nerf gun in the back.
And a Master Chef helmet, so... this is out of context. It means nothing.
Do you remember Spartan designations easier than your own phone numbers?
Like, what the fuck? And it's funny because they then...
Also, that might not have anything to do with hiring for Halo.
Yeah, it could be just they need a new guy.
That could have been like a YouTuber who's really into Halo, and one of his fans just said, "Do you remember Spartan ID is easier than your own phone number?"
Yeah, I with zero context, I have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to take away from that.
Yeah.
What an actual fucking retard.
Proceed to ignore the lore, do some weird shit, and then Halo lore is basically just them trying to recover from whatever the fuck the games were trying to do.
So you're saying they didn't follow the lore and then they fucked up?
Yes.
Mental fucking giant right here.
Like, if they really want to do their own thing, rather than use the Master Chief, they should have just done the war against the Flood.
That should have happened.
Forerunners.
Yeah. Something else entirely, yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Rewind it just a tad.
Because they then proceed to ignore the lore, do some weird shit, and then Halo lore is basically just them trying to recover from whatever the fuck the games were trying to do. And I feel like as time passes with these big franchises, their lore just becomes more and more convoluted.
Okay, so that is kind of true. Lore does become more and more convoluted when you switch writers.
It also, again, who the fuck says Halo 4, 5, and 6 is where the lore is good?
Well, nobody.
Nobody.
So that is also a straw man. But yeah, no, like, yeah, franchises when they get big enough and you start switching writers, like the problem with a lot of superhero comics is like they've had dozens of writers, most of which can't be bothered to even like point to the superhero they're writing for on like a board of superheroes.
And they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. But also with using fucking Star Wars there, like you're going to talk about how you're going to compare Star Wars, or Disney Star Wars specifically, which is known, it's a joke among even the normies that it doesn't know what the fuck it's doing.
Yeah, same thing with Marvel. Who's the next Avenger team? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, guy, get off the fucking internet and actually talk to people, man.
Halo has so many individual authors who essentially decide where the story goes in their own head, and you lose that collaborative progression of an overarching narrative. Everyone included. Like,
what happens when like you have a hired franchise like that?
Yeah, it happens when you have a multimedia franchise that expands a wide berth.
Yeah, like if you look at like D&D lore, for example. Now there's a shit show.
Yeah, just Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
It's an arc wizard every 16 feet.
So, yeah.
Again, all the lore is different from story, which is different from characters, which is different from tone, which is different from marketing. Like, what the fuck?
And like one of the advantages like D&D has, for example, as far as its lore goes, is it's literally a hodgepodge of shit, so that anybody running the game can basically have whatever they want in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, franchises can get convoluted when they have big lore, and some companies are better than others at making sure that their lore stays intact. For the most part, no franchise has really been unaffected by it completely.
No, like I'm just
like Lord of the Rings. A lot of people consider it to be like one of the best franchises overall, but like the Hobbit trilogy and Rings of Power both really hurt that kind of opinion of it, which is why, like most franchises, when you get to shit you don't like, you just don't think of it as canon.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, if you follow the corporate canon, a lot of times it's going to be ass. Like, there's no corporate canon for Harry Potter, for example.
Yeah, it's just J.K. Rowling's.
Yeah, it's just her canon. Which is why that series should be good overall, because it's what she wants. It's what she remembers. I don't know if it is, because I've only read 2 of the books.
As far as I understand, outside of the people getting pissy because of her politics, the most of the lore and whatnot for Harry Potter matches up relatively fine with as to be expected, as much as you can expect from like one person who wrote it at first while being homeless or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The exception being the last book, which was not made by her. So.
Oh well, then yeah. Yeah, stuff gets complicated, especially when it's another director or another writer or whatever, because you don't have that person's mind.
Yeah, but to bring this all back to gaming, yeah, well, simply enough, Dark Souls, like, it has probably a few writers, right? But what is so massively convoluted that you can't figure out in game? What, cut content? That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing as far as like figuring out what the gods are doing, really. Seath literally gave himself a phylactery and locked himself in a library.
As you do.
You probably wouldn't be able to figure out the weird plot point that Priscilla may have been his daughter. Like, that's a weird plot point. You probably need other people's fan theories to kind of help you see whether or not you agree with it.
Again, though, this is nothing like incredibly major to the overall story, like the game. It doesn't.
Yeah, Nito's a death god. You know that because he summons skeletons and he's at the bottom of a big ass crypt. Seath is a dragon. He lives in a library where he collects basically his hordes of magic. Gwyn is trying to keep the fire from dying out, so he's gone insane there. The Bed of Chaos, she basically turned into a weird monster like all the other people down in Iceland did, which is why there's weird demons everywhere. You can figure it all out in a playthrough. You might not know why this shit happened or how it happened, but you could figure out, like, the gist of what happened.
Yeah. I guess we should continue on with Dingus.
Alright.
Authors who essentially decide where the story goes in their own head, and you lose that collaborative progression of an overarching narrative. Everyone included. Like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit that the Arbiter is back when it's just some dude at a coffee shop writing his name on his laptop. There is some quality stuff, but
you don't give a shit because that the Arbiter is back because it's some guy writing him in a coffee shop?
But there is some good stuff.
What the fuck does that even mean?
No idea, but he basically just kind of agreed with me, where he's just like, you kind of just have your own headcanon when you're talking about major franchises.
so much Halo lore is so weird and amateur that it feels like it's just a bunch of fan fiction. And it might as well be. Lore
I mean, that happens with a lot of lores for different things.
I mean,
it's not a good thing, but it does happen.
I mean, technically, all writing is fan fiction until it's adopted by whatever
fans.
Yeah, well, it's until it's adopted by the people who oversee whatever thing.
Oh well, yeah. In that case, yeah.
Like, that's why it's just a strange pseudo insult, I guess.
Yeah.
Lore ultimately is so disconnected from games that I don't even understand why people discuss it.
Most players are too distracted with the amazing gameplay to care about the game's current story, and I don't blame them.
Like, yeah, whoa, dude, that's very smart, dude. But I'll tell you what, guys, I'm trying to play this game, but I only have one hand because...
Rainbow Six Siege.
I mean, there is lore to it, technically, but...
I know there is, but, like, has the lore ever been a major component?
No, I don't think so. It's there out of, like, obligation more than anything.
I was about to say, isn't there out of obligation of Tom Clancy stuff?
Yeah.
And I don't even know what this game is, so...
Couldn't tell you. I'm not gonna ask this one.
Because on the other, I got a laptop with the lore pulled up, and it's hard to focus on two things at once, dude.
You're the one that can't focus on the shit in the game, you fucking retard.
Yeah, it's just... If you have no idea what it is, it's not like something you have to stop what you're doing and look up most of the time. Especially for background lore, which is what I think he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he means. I mean, he's fucked up saying that. Like,
he hasn't
every step
really
of the
offered
way.
a solution for replacing lore.
No, he's just kind of said lore's bad because I'm bad at games.
Yeah, lore's bad because I can't multitask. So,
like, RSG2, this is something you should have figured out by the time you were like 4. But you should be able to play a game, think about said game, and have a conversation with someone else all at the same time without getting confused.
Yeah, no, I don't know. This is really just like a strange bitch video that I think basically boils down to something triggered him and he made a whole bunch of weird comments that don't really make sense.
And he really hates Warhammer for some reason.
He doesn't like Warhammer.
But he likes Halo, except for all the bad Halo.
Yeah. Because, like everything else, you headcanon it after a certain point.
Dude, so...
Look behind them, they both have a fade. What if Gunnar was done with the IL after losing to Jonesy in the Foundation? I mean, it probably is Gunnar, but the real question is, like, do we care?
What the fuck was that?
Overwatch characters, I think?
Okay.
Yeah. He found a guy who agrees with him. And for the most part, if you're talking about a team-based shooter, no, most people don't care about the background lore.
Yeah, but there were plenty of people who did care about the fucking background lore for Overwatch, which is why a story mode was so demanded.
Yeah, which is why they made everyone buy a sequel, then didn't deliver it.
Yeah. So, Overwatch, popular with the normie audience for the normie, for like a main big hero shooter one. Like, again, a lot of people really interested in the story, really interested in the lore.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they basically killed the game when they canceled the lore.
Yeah, they canceled the story mode, which is the lore
Yeah,
of the story.
because basically all the casual players kind of quit, and then they just kind of switched over to Marvel Rivals when that released.
Yeah. So yeah, that was RSG's 2's the problem with lore in games. He didn't really say anything except for that he sucks at Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I that's all I took away from this. Mostly because you're an inane idiot. You should feel bad about yourself, and I hope you stub your toe on the side of your desk.
Well, I hope you find a really good sandwich and think about what you said.
Have a good day.